Alrighty, we have officially talked about Shadowkeep, and I think that it's been long enough for everyone to get used to and play the raid that we're going to talk about the new raid, Garden of Salvation, today. I watched the world's first race. Again, congratulations to Team Ascend for getting world's first. I'm still a little salty. The data only got about 12th, but I pulled up Dato's stream at like 12:30 that night, right before he got the final kill, and it was really nice seeing them get the emblem for the first 24 hours, not going 0-2, haha, over the limit this time. Congratulations again to Ascend for getting all that stuff in. Anyway, guys, let's get to talking about Garden of Salvation. We're going to go by each encounter. I'm going to talk about what I like about everything, honestly. There's really not a whole lot to dislike about it. I'll talk mostly on my dislikes and over the overall raid experience, not just the individual encounters. The first encounter has you going right into the Black Garden, not damaging any bosses though. You need to chain together all of your friends to open and unlock doors, while another set of friends are split into teams of 3 and 3 to collect the buff that you get or debuff that you get from the Soul Divisive Mind. And this is honestly a really nice encounter start, because usually what happens in Destiny raids is at the beginning of the raid, they're going to give you the mechanic that you're going to use for the remainder of your time, whether it be 18 or 24 or 2 hours later. You're going to be using this mechanic probably the entire time for a lot of different things. And it's right, the Tethered Mechanic has you going up to these tiny boxes and to shoot them to activate them. You have to tether your friends in a close enough radius so that no one breaks the tether to open these doors. After you get each door unlocked and collect enough of the debuff to make sure that you guys don't wipe, because if you don't collect it, you'll wipe, you clear the area. It's a pretty easy place to do. It honestly didn't take many teams very long to get through the first part. I think only Broman and Gathalian's team had a bit of an issue at the start, but they cleaned up pretty quick and finished it. I like this encounter a lot. It gets you a good beginning mechanic of getting the tether and everything in there. There's not a lot of ads, it's not too hard to get through, and the rush at the end was pretty nice. So like, teams would unlock the door and be like, oh yeah, we did it, congratulations. But then, oh, big oopsie there, the Cyclopses would start to spawn and you'd have to rush to the end, picking up that debuff once again to make sure that your team doesn't wipe, and you have to collect and kill everything before you get there, and the first chest spawns. I think it's a really good way to start off the raid. It's nice and fast paced, it's not too slow, there's not a lot of downtime there. You just have to make sure you split into the correct teams, you're good to go for that. So overall, the first encounter is really great. It's really interesting to have a door opening or like an entrance mechanic where you don't have to shoot or kill a boss at all. The next encounter is what I'm calling the Labyrinth, or the VexCon Flux area. So basically this kind of mirrors the second encounter of the Vault of Glass, where you have, in this case there are 4, I think, different stations of confluxes, and you must tether together to get the Enlightened buff to kill shielded enemies to make sure they don't sacrifice. The main thing here is make sure the Vex don't sacrifice. If a Vex sacrifices, you're going to wipe. I think this is really great. You get split up into these very small teams, and there's teleporters all around, so you don't have to run down these long corridors to get to the different parts of the Labyrinth. I didn't really watch a whole lot of this during the World's First, but I've gone back and watched. I actually just watched Glad's 3-man of the raid, which is absolutely insane. They did it on day 2, and for this portion, it was very, very easy for them to do with only 3 people. It didn't take them very long. All you need to do is make sure those Vex don't sacrifice, and you should be good to go. Overall, there's really nothing to complain about this either. There's a lot of stuff going on here. You got to make sure you have good communication with your team to know when to rotate to get the angelic buff, and make sure you kill the angelics that are coming around, those minotaurs or those hydras that are spawning, and you gotta make sure you kill those. It's really fast paced, and again, it's another great encounter for the raid. No boss damage again on this one. This is like the longest you go without actually like shooting or killing a boss since VoG, which is absolutely amazing. I think a lot of this stuff and a lot of this raid will mirror Vault of Glass a whole lot, and I like that a lot. The next encounter is the first out of 2 boss encounters. You have to kill the consecrated mind Soul Inherent. It is a giant harpy that will run around and go through different areas. Basically, it will go off into one area. You need to take at least 2 people with you. You really don't even need 2 people. 1 person can do it, and the person will go into the little area where the Hydra has gone, and he will blast you with the debuff from the first and second place encounters, and you'll have to figure out which one of his eyes are glowing, the inner or the outer set of eyes. You have to shoot all 3, and that'll finish it off, while your other half of your team, or the other 4 people, are running around collecting moats, basically from Gambit, to dunk into the little like spires that form, and make sure that those shielded enemies don't sacrifice. Yet again, it's the first encounter mixed with the tethering, and the second encounter with the sacrificing at the confluence and everything. And then after you get enough moats and you make sure you get through enough rotations, the boss will go to the spire and you have to do damage. The DPS phase is actually really interesting. There's been people that have found out really easy ways to get 1 phases so far. 2 phases is really not even a thing anymore, with Recluse and Izanagi's Burden and Wendigo and all those good pinnacle weapons and exotics from past expansions and past seasons. You really get a good sense that all these old weapons are still going to be meta during all these raids, which is interesting, at the same time a little bit disappointing, because I wish there was a new weapon meta. I wish there was more weapons in this expansion, but I wish there was a new weapon meta. But other than that, this boss fight is really interesting. Again, I think Dado's team, because I was watching them the most, they figured it out pretty quick on how to get this down. All you had to do was shoot the eyes to make sure, collect the buff, and then make sure the other team gets all the moats. And as soon as you do that, as long as you have a well and probably a bubble with weapons of light, you're definitely easy pickings for the boss. Like, the boss is going to die pretty quick. He doesn't have a lot of health. I think the boss design was really great. Again, I think this encounter is really great. It mixes good portions of the first and second encounter to make you really sit on your feet. Again, it's fast paced for the people, especially those who are trying to get the moats and kill the minotaurs and make sure no one sacrifices again and all that. So I think it, again, all in all, a really good area. I wanted to take a second to talk about just the overall look of the entire raid. It is beautiful. The in-between areas where you're running through these jumping puzzles or hopping on these little pods, or after the first boss, you're going through to the second boss. It's just such a beautiful area, you could almost get lost. Like, a few teams actually did look around, smell the roses, and got lost on their way there. It is the world design team, again, did a fantastic job in this expansion, as they always do. 10 out of 10 for the looks of this raid. I love the Black Garden aesthetic, and I really hope we can actually go back to Venus at some point and play some more with that. It's beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much for making it this great. The final boss you'll be facing up against is the Sanctifying Mind, and this is a intense boss fight. This is probably one of the most difficult day 1 boss fights I have ever seen people go through. Fami is a European streamer with another section of Clan Redeem. They were on this boss first. They got to this boss before anybody else did. I feel like all the other teams were on the first boss still, and they still didn't get worlds first. A lot of people spent 50 to 60% of their time in this area right here trying to figure out and trying to get this area efficient, get this boss fight done quick, but it was really difficult. It was kind of hard to watch at some points. People would get so close to finishing it, and then somebody would mess up, someone would die, someone wouldn't kill Cyclops, and it was good. But anyway, this encounter, it's a lot different than all of the rest of the ones, even though it does include some of the mechanics from the first, second, and third places. So the first encounter introduced tethering, which they do use in this fight. You have to tether to get the light and dark sides available so you can shoot the boss and do boss damage. It has the Moat Collecting, which you have to go into a portal after shooting 2 crit spots on the boss. There's one on his leg and one on his shoulder for left and right, light and dark. And after you get through there, you have to collect enough moats to put into the bank, and after you bank enough moats, you'll be able to damage the boss. It basically mirrors the moats, the tethering, and having to do boss damage after collecting moats with the first and second encounter, which is really great. Again, I love how Bungie always makes these little encounters, like these little bits of encounters, mean something in the end. You have to learn how to tether, you have to learn how to get all those moats together and bank them, you have to learn how to kill angelics and shielded enemies to make sure they don't sacrifice the confluxes again. All of it comes together into one fight, and this Again, this area is huge and beautiful, and I love it. It's a great boss arena, and I think it's one of the most beautiful boss arenas we've seen since King's Fall. King's Fall was a great boss arena, but again, this encounter is extremely difficult, and again, Gladdenham 3-manned it, so it can't be that hard for people that are really high level with a lot of time in their hands. They really did a great job getting in there and getting damage done. Damage phases are a little short, but if you get them down and down-packed with good weapons like Wendigo, Recluse, Izanagi's Burden, a bunch of snipers, make sure you have a bubble, weapons of light, and a well, you should be able to get this done pretty easy. Again, this encounter is really great, and all in all, I think this boss looks really hard, and I would love to go try it myself, if only if I had 6 friends to play D2 with at this point. Overall, guys, I think the raid was pretty great. It was shorter than a lot of people expected. I don't actually know why people are expecting a Forsaken Last Wish or a King's Fall size raid. As you guys remember, the usual expansion pattern goes a Forsaken or Taken King style raid, and then the year after that you get a Rise of Iron raid, or you get something close to this one right here. The Rise of Iron raid only had 2 real bosses. It had the first guy, which I'll never remember the name of, and you had Axis at the end, and you had the Death Zamboni in the middle. So it was only 3 big encounters plus a door opening. and plus Axis Phase 1 and 2 if you want to count those as separate, but who knows. But you're expecting a big, long, 24-hour raid to complete and everything. You're looking for the wrong one in this expansion. Overall, I think this is a great raid for the expansion, and I know that people were expecting, and even I, in my last video, I talked about how I thought it was going to unlock a whole lot more, but we'll just have to see with the new Vex offensive rank ups coming. I think the raid was great. I would honestly give it like an 8 or 9 out of 10. It was a really fun race to watch, and I think it's going to be a good raid to optimize and get efficient in the coming weeks, and I really wish they would do prestige modes later down the line, but I don't think they're going to do that anymore. I know there's challenge modes coming, so that's going to be pretty interesting to see what the challenges are going to be. Probably no one can die, only a certain number of people could tether at once, and all that. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys watched the world first race, let me know what you guys think about it in the comments below. If you guys have done the raid, hit me up. Let me know how you think the raid went. How do you think what loadouts you should use and everything? I might make a loadout video at some point talking about what you should use for the raid. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, getting a daily dose of vitamin P. If you guys want more daily doses of vitamin P, please check out the rest of the videos on my channel. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out and take care.